welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are already on day 5 of our reading of the book, The Purpose-Driven Life. So on day 5, we will be discussing seeing life from God's view. They said that the way we see our life shapes our life, and how we define life determines our destiny. Our perspective will influence how we invest our time, how we spend our money, and how we use our talents, and most especially how we value our relationships. So there's a question in this book that asks, how do you picture your life? What image comes to your head? That image is actually your life's metaphor. Some people often express their life's metaphor in terms of the clothes that they wear, the jewelry that they wear, their cars, their hairstyles, or sometimes their tattoos. But it also mentioned that unspoken life metaphors influences our life more than we realize. And it also determines our expectations, our values, our relationships, goals, and priorities. They said if you view life as a party, it means that it is important for you to have fun, or that's the focus of your life, of how you live it. And if you think that life is a race, speed would be very important to you, and you always seems to be in a hurry. Like you always want to finish everything as soon as you can. And if you think that life is a battle or a game, winning will be very important to you. I think when I was young, I always look at life as a battle, and winning is very important to me. That is true, because when I was growing up, I feel like I've already lost at the start, because I grew up in an environment wherein it wasn't really a perfect family. We were struggling because my mom doesn't have a work, so was my dad. And apart from that, my dad is also hooked up in some vices, which makes our family life very unstable. And growing up as a kid, you're actually torn. It's actually very important for the kid to have, a good family environment, because that will hone you to become the person that you will be. Because sometimes kids, you just tend to be reactive. You can't think much, I think. That's what I was thinking. So when I felt like I know that my family life is already lost, you would say I don't have a head start because of that environment. So I always try to prove myself, try to be better at school. I try to be on top of my class, joining competitions that I should actually win them, because I feel like that's the only way for me to at least compensate for the bad start that I have. It's like me trying to pull myself away from the bad image that we have as a family when I was growing up. Eventually, I realized now, I think I see life as a journey wherein life tests you, develop you, your experiences on that journey. You decide of whether you'll make the best out of it. Like if you're trying to learn from your mistakes and be the better version of yourself. Every experiences that you have, good or bad, you should feel that very moment, whether it's good or bad. Like you should actually get as much as you could. Maybe a feeling of fulfillment, of happiness and joy when the experience is something nice. And if the experience is something bad, try to learn all the lessons that you can from that bad experiences. So you try to make something that is not good into something beautiful. We should not conform ourselves to the standards of this world, but let God transform us inwardly by a complete change of our mind. And from that very moment, the moment that we allow God to transform us into His purpose, there we will be able to know His will for our life. So they said that the Bible offers us 3 metaphors about how life should be described. They said that life is a test, life is a trust, and life is a temporary assignment. So in this day 5 discussion, they just actually explained the first 2, which is life is a test and trust. The book mentioned that life on earth is a test. God continually tests people's character, faith, obedience, love, integrity, and loyalty. Trials, temptations, refining and testing. All these words you can actually see in the Bible more than 200 times, because they said that character is both developed and revealed through tests. God constantly watches us towards everything. They said that the major test in life probably for everybody, or you can actually relate. The major changes, delayed promises, impossible problems, unanswered prayers, undeserved criticisms, and senseless tragedies. I would say for all of those that I've mentioned, I've also experienced it in my life. Probably you would say impossible problems, wherein, growing up, both my parents didn't have work. So I was forced to make sure that I actually be on top of my class so I can keep my scholarship and continue to study. My mom just rely on the family business of her brother, wherein she goes there and help in the business and then get some groceries for us. So that were the only means for us to survive. And I also remembered wherein every time my mom gets an audit work, like a freelance job, when she gets the money, that's the only time she will get to buy us some clothes, or she will get to treat us to eat at the restaurant. So life back then was very simple, and I felt it was difficult, impossible. I always feel jealous of my classmates who has like a complete and happy family. Sometimes I've always wondered why it was me of all the kids. But of course, at the end of the day, I'm grateful to God that I was able to overcome those trials. I also had the test of probably an answered prayer. You can also say it was an answered prayer because I always pray to God, and ask that if He can actually change my situation, change my dad, change everything that we have. But of course, we all know that the circumstances around us are actually uncontrollable. The only thing that we can control is ourselves, like how we react to them. They said that the very important test of all is when we feel in our life that God is not around. When we feel that we are alone and nothing sees our suffering and the pain that we are going through. But actually, of all these things, in spite feeling that, God wants us to pass the test. And He never allows the test to be greater than the grace that He gives us to handle them. And I truly believe in that because based on experiences, as what I've said, I was able to overcome that. Thanks to my mom, of course. And most importantly, thanking God for giving us the grace, to overcome that stage in our life. The book mentioned that Bible said, "Blessed are those who endures when they are tested. When they pass the test, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love Him." Number 2, life is a trust. Time, energy, intelligence, opportunities, relationships, and resources are all gifts from God. He just entrusted it to us, and we should actually take good care of it and managed it well. We never really own anything during our brief stay here on earth. It was just a loan from God. We should actually ask ourselves, what do we have that God hasn't given us? And if all that we have is from God, why boast as though we have accomplished something on our own? It actually tells us that we should be humble all the time, that we should be dependent to God. Since it is just given to us, we should also learn how to share it, especially to those who are in need. They said, those who are trusted with something valuable must show they are worthy of the trust. At the end of our life on earth, we will be evaluated and rewarded on how well we handled what God has entrusted to us. It was mentioned in the book that there were 3 rewards that are given to us if we pass the test. One is affirmation. It's like God is telling us, we did a good job in being a steward of His creation. Second is promotion. It means God gives us a greater responsibility and eternity. Third is celebration because we share God's happiness. There was one saying that I've noticed there where it said, money is both a test and a trust. And after reading it, I realized that it was true. Because money, they said, is the root of all evil. Sometimes we lose our integrity, we lose our character because of money. We lose our relationship because of money. If that is the case, it means that we actually live our life to the standards of the earth, to the standards of materialism or earthly legacy. That's where our focus is. But if we actually shift our focus to the riches in heaven, like how we can actually, rejuvenate our soul, how we can refine that purpose God has made for us. And money is also a trust. Trust because, as what I've said, everything that we have comes from God. And money is one of them. Money is a blessing. And it's something that we should thought of wisely on how to spend it. Share it with people who are in need and use it as how God's want us to. So the point is, life is a test and trust. the more God gives us, the more responsible He expects us to be. The verse in the book is, unless you are faithful in small matters, you won't be faithful in large ones. Question for everybody. What has happened to me recently that I now realize was a test from God? What are the greatest matters God has entrusted to me? Well, for myself, every day is a test. I think even from the moment that we wake up, like how we react, whether we react positively or negatively, it's already a test. How we react towards people that we interact with. On this simple course that we do at home, I think that's also part of the test. So it's actually a test of patience for me, I would say. Because I always get irritated with people, with everything. So I think that's one of the things that I have to improve on. I think I become much more dependent now since we are in a pandemic and we really don't know what's gonna happen. There are things that we wanted to go back to normal. But I thank God that He has given me the grace to accept, what is happening and just try to look at the positive side of things. So I wish everybody to have a great day and I'll see you in our next discussion. God bless.